One of the latest companies that you guys have done that I think a lot of people are paying attention to is PlayVS. And maybe talk a little bit about kind of how that came together with Delane and how you guys have built it so quickly. I think a lot of people are sitting there saying like, great idea. Delane is obviously speaks for himself in terms of how he's been as an entrepreneur, but like this thing has gotten so big so quickly and like how that's come together.
Yeah, look, I mean, I have like goosebumps when I talk about Delane. So, and I think now this week or the last couple of weeks, I talked to him a lot. He's one of those founders. I met him at South by, right? This goes back to, there's an article I did USA Today this week around like networking and what I'm missing. So this is cool. We caught up a little bit before the Zoom call, but it's not the same as just serendipitously running into people, meeting people. I'm one of those people. I go to every conference. I'm looking to meet people. And a couple of years back at South by Southwest, during there's a side event called Culture House that's put on by just amazing Black entrepreneurs and investors. And it's really kind of this side event that says, look, South by is mostly white. And years ago they said, let's put together this event and Culture House. And so they were serving brisket, which is my favorite, from Franklin's, by the way. And my favorite barbecue in the world. You gotta go. If you have not been to Franklin's, like, just do it. And I met Delane on the dance floor, and it was a house, and they were serving barbecue. They were playing hip hop, which I love. There was no dance floor per se. I was just the only person dancing. And Susie Rue from Cross Culture Fund in LA with Troy Carter introduced me to Delane. Delane was, he grew up in Atlanta. He's a Black kid in Atlanta. Father was murdered before he was born. Grew up was just in the projects. And he was 24 at the time, but just had this like hustle, just like this passion and like sharpness to him that I'll never forget. And we just started talking about esports. And we, it's one of the theses for science as a fund and investment is what's more entertaining than your phone and Instagram and WhatsApp? It's actually video games. And I thought esports is going to take off. We just didn't know what it was going to be. And, I met Delane on the dance floor, as the story goes, and convinced him over the next like 2 months to move out to LA and let's go figure what we should build. So he, on a Friday, dropped everything. Monday, moved out to LA. And for a couple months, we kind of figured out that, what are we going to build? And it ended up PlayVS, which is a platform for esports in all US high schools and soon to be colleges. If you kind of think about fantasy football, right, which it'll be interesting if we have that this year, but fantasy football is spread across CBS, Yahoo, NFL.com, ESPN, Pro Fantasy Sports, blah, blah. Imagine if there was one service that serviced all fantasy football. That's what PlayVS is. And so the scale of that, the reason I think people are surprised at the speed is globally it's big, US not so much, but one of the things in my back of my head was thinking a little bit ahead. I thought, man, high school football, like how's that going to be a sport for another decade? I mean, all the data is coming out, the concussions, and the reality is we're also a sue happy nation. And at some point the liability will probably outweigh the entertainment and the risk, and rightfully so. Esports is going to be a sport in high schools, and very quickly within the first year, we're rolled out into 23 states where you can play League of Legends, you can play video games essentially that are esports globally in high school, get a letter, win a state championship. And we raised almost $100 million in the first 18 months. And to me, look, at the time, this is, Delane raised the most money any Black founder has ever raised for a consumer internet company in that short amount of time. And this is, special to me. Like, I was born in a refugee camp, right? Like, I grew up very poor. We grew up in a 1-bedroom apartment, 5 kids, 7 of us. And, got to the point in life, both my parents were social workers. My mom handed out welfare checks for 25 years. And so I understand different levels of poverty. He grew up in the projects. Way tougher neighborhood. I grew up in a very tough neighborhood. His was worse. And so, but I grew up with a father, he didn't. That to me is, a lot of it is him. He is grown as an individual. He is the CEO of a company that is going to be most likely the biggest investment and biggest company that we've ever been a part of, for sure. And so why did it grow so fast? He's an animal. He's just lights out. He will impress anybody. 2, market, timing. And then it turns out in this pandemic, when schools are closed, esports, video games, look at the stocks of every video game company in the world right now. It has been up and to the right, and kind of going into, hopefully when we reopen schools, contact sports and things that where you're near and close to people, probably not so much. Esports, whatever you think about it, as an Asian, right? I think about this. What if I told my parents, hey, mom, dad, I got a scholarship to play chess in college? They would be so proud. When you think about esports, 5-on-5, the strategy is unbelievable. You are thinking 5, 10, 20 steps ahead. You have to react instantaneously while communicating with 4 other players on your team. It's actually next level 3-dimensional offense, defense, planning strategically. What do we do in life, in real life, as jobs, as career adults? Strategy, offense, defense, thinking as many steps ahead, whether you're a stock trader, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a manager, you are trying to communicate with your peers. You're trying to grow your company. You're trying to create strategy. To me, it's a life skill. So that's why it's so big.